Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Python 3 Crash Course. And today we're going to be going over file I/O, or file input output. So in previous videos we've seen how we can get input to our program via the command line, where we just we'll say input, we'll type some things in, and then we can set that to a variable. However, we'll notice that this isn't really great if we have, say, a lot of data that we want to process. In generally, when we're writing an application, we don't want to process small user inputs. We generally want to do, work on much larger things, or things that don't necessarily require the user to type something in. So we'll look at how we can both read files and write to files in this example. So let's go over to the command line, and we'll go ahead and go to program IO. Then we'll go to file IO, and we have a couple files today. So we'll have the file that we'll be reading from and writing to, and that will be test.txt. So this says, hi, this is an example of an input file that we might want to read, and then just some numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then the test perm.txt, that's just because we're going to be overriding some data in text, or in test.txt, so we want just a copy that we're not going to change. That way we just have a backup. And then let's go to our actual Python script. So if we go to fileio.py, so this time we're going to take in a command line argument. So we need from the sys module argv, and what we're going to pass in from the command line is file name. Remember, the first part of argv will always be your script name, and then the second part will be your file name, or whatever your other inputs are. They'll start at the second one. So just a small thing to keep in mind. So how do we actually start reading from a file? Well, the first thing we need to do, just like we would if we wanted to read, say, just a normal document, is we need to open it. And so there's a built-in thing in Python to do this, and it's this built-in function called open. And so this will open up our file object. Now, by default, when you just call open without any other things besides, say, the file name, what this does is it opens it with intent to read. So we can't write anything to this, but that's okay for now. So we'll set text equal to this file object. So now when we ever want to mess with a file object, we have a variable text to do it with. So here, a very natural way to do this. So as part of this file object, we can actually call something. So from this file object, we can call read, and what this will do, it will read the entire file and assign it to total file. So this will just be a big long string. That's the entire contents of the file. So we'll go ahead and print out that file that we saw earlier, and then it's always a good idea to close the file when you're done with it. So we'll open the file again though, because there's another read utility that's very convenient a lot of times, and that's this this read lines utility. So while read just opens up the file, or it doesn't open the file, while read just takes an open file and then copies the whole thing out as one big string, read lines will actually split it into chunks, and these chunks will be whenever we have a new line character. So if we open back up our test.txt up here, we see that we have two lines here. Now read lines will just take it as one big string, or read will, and then read lines will take this and it will split it into two distinct lines. And a lot of times, say if we have a lot of data that's separated on different lines, it's a really convenient thing to have it already split. So we'll go ahead and close that. Then we'll go ahead and we will close this file object. Now if you want to write to a file, we have to open it again, but this time we have to specifically say that we intend to write. Now we can say we want to read, we want to write, or we want to read and write if we put R and W in here. But for now we just really care about writing, so we'll open it with write permissions. Then if we want to clear a file, say we're done with all the content of it and we want to clear it, get rid of everything, we can call truncate. Truncate will empty a file object, so this time we'll empty our file. And then we'll put in, say, a small matrix. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we have this /n in here. This is a new line character. Now this just says that continue on to the next line. So these will be separated on 3 different lines in our new file. And then to write, we can just do writes like this. So we can have write line 1, write line 2, write line 3. And then, of course, we have to, it's a good idea to close your file. A lot of times, if you have a very long program, sometimes you can maybe open up a bunch of files, and if you leave them open, this can be kind of bad performance-wise. So it's a good habit to, as soon as you're done working on a file, close it immediately. So just as a reminder, before we run it, let's look at the original contents of the file. So it says hi, and then the rest of the string, and then has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, so what we should see is both those lines printed together as one big string. Then we should see it split into an array with read lines. And then finally, we should clear the file. We won't see anything there. And then we'll write 3 lines to it. And then we can open up the file again and then see if it indeed did write those lines. So let's go ahead and call Python3 on file.io.py. Uh-oh. Let's see, where do we make a mistake? Uh-oh, that's what it is. We didn't call it with a, so we have to, we've got to give it an argument. So let's try that again. And let's give it test.txt as what we're going to write. There we go. So here we see we first, as one big string, we printed out the contents of the file. Then we split it into two strings. The first one being this hi, this is an example of an input file you might want to read, and then it ends with a new line character because, you know, when we press enter, that automatically puts a new line character. And then the second line here. So they're already split up into 2 strings. And we'll talk about arrays in a later lecture. And then if we open up our test.txt again, we'll see that we wrote this small matrix again, or we wrote this small matrix. So we emptied out the content, so we don't have those 2 original strings. So now we have our new data in here. So that's going to do it for today. As always, if we go to github.com/coffeebeforearch and we go to the Python3 crash course page, we'll go ahead and go there, and we see we've got all the previous videos as well as all the files associated with those videos. So we worked on file.io.py, and so that'll be right here. And as always, I hope you guys have a nice day.